Hello and welcome back to the Makayla Simone Show here on k-ru.org from 12 to 1 p.m. I am so excited because I have the amazing Jasmine Diane in the lab today. Oh, so excited. This is going to be amazing. Jasmine, so the first segment I talked about like your life brand, expressing the topic today, and just how our lives are personal brands. And so sometimes we think, oh, we need to invest in building a business and investing in building a nonprofit or a shirt line, and how our lives are a personal brand. So I think you're going to speak a lot to that, and also giving tips on not only a personal brand of who you are, actually your own personal brand, and just some amazing things coming up. So as we start, tell us about yourself. So who is Jasmine Diane?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Makayla. Jasmine Diane. So I am a lifestyle blogger focusing on style and career content. I also work by day in advertising. I'm always on social media talking about fashion, career tips, and just all that fun stuff that goes along with being a woman specifically. So, yeah.
So that's Jasmine Diane, y'all. Yeah. So if you're listening, like, clap it up for Jasmine. Woo! Okay, so my first question is, because I'm gonna let your interview kind of speak to who you are, but
Yes,
what year did you start blogging?
So I started blogging in 2012 when I was a student at the University of Missouri. So just 5 years ago, nothing too long ago.
Nothing too long ago, girl. You've been in the game. What year? Nothing too long ago. So what inspired you to start blogging?
So I started blogging really out of boredom. I had just got out of a relationship and was like, ooh, I have a lot of free time on my hands, a lot. So I always loved fashion, so I started just talking about what celebrities were wearing and how they put together certain pieces. And then I'm like, okay, this is cool, but this isn't really who I am. So then I started talking about my style and just events going on, going to fashion shows here in Kansas City and back in Columbia, Missouri, and St. Louis. And it kind of just started from there. Everything's kind of spiraled out. I don't know. It started with a post, and boom, here we are 5 years later. Crazy.
5 years later with lots of followers and just lots of support. I'm definitely Team Jasmine Diane. I have the shirt on, the girl tee today.
She looks so beautiful.
I am Team Jasmine Diane. So did it take you a while? Because I know sometimes as you like start blogging or building a brand, some people are scared to take that leap. And I know sometimes, for a couple of shows I've talked about the scare of actually taking the leap.
Yeah.
So did it take you a while to actually like, okay, I think I want to start blogging, but to actually take the leap, was it something that you just woke up one day and just started doing, or did it take a while?
It was very random. I mean, I still remember very vividly. I was home from Thanksgiving break, 2012, in college, and I was like, okay, what can I do? When I was on the internet, I'm like, I should just start a blog. So I just started with a post. It wasn't anything I kind of jumped into, but I think if I would have known when I started what it would be now, I would have took some more time and like got some resources. But when I started, I just kind of jumped with the idea. And
at least you took the jump. There are some people who are probably listening today and still have not took that leap, still have something that they're passionate about and really want to do, but they are afraid to do. And so before we talk about you and the brand that you have built, and just the girl launching the My Girl campaign and the brunch coming up, I kind of wanted to talk to the listeners today on your personal life, like who you are. And so as today's topic is your life brand, how is the way you carry yourself as a brand, like why is it important? Because sometimes we don't quite see our lives as a personal brand. We only see developing content for a website. So why is it important that people know who they are before they kind of jump in to saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, and not evaluating like the why behind why they want to do it?
For sure. I think personally, when I first started blogging, I kind of, and even still, I'm still finding myself. So I wouldn't say I necessarily knew who I was, but throughout the course of blogging, kind of just learned who I was, and being totally transparent, what I, communicate to people online, I wanted to make sure offline I'm still that person. I'm still smiling. I'm still positive. I'm still bubbly. I'm still being encouraging. When you encounter me, I'm consistently the same person, and I think that's what makes my brand stand out from other brands in general is because sometimes you meet somebody offline and you're like, oh, she's mean, or oh, you do not look like that. No shade. But, it's like you don't know what to expect. And with being a life brand or a personal brand, you want to make sure you're consistent so people know what to come to you for.
And I like that you said that, because I talked about that earlier in the show. I talked about how to be consistent in who you are, online and offline, because sometimes we get so caught up in posting online and
the polished look.
The polished look, and like, well, is this really me outside of social media, outside of Twitter, Instagram, Facebook? And I use relationships as an example. Everybody loves a hashtag relationship goals. And you know how so many people look at relationships online like, ooh, I love their relationship, like relationship goals, like goals, and you hear it all the time. And then maybe it's a favorite celebrity, you find out, oh dang, he cheated on his wife, or she cheated on her husband. They really wasn't what it was really cracked up to be. So actually being consistent with who you are online and offline, because you're not really being authentic. And I talked about being authentic, and so
I think that shows too, just to piggyback off of you, a lot of times if somebody's not authentic, they won't go as long. Like 5 years to be committed is a long time. And so there have been a lot of bloggers I would say I started with that aren't necessarily blogging, or just people, entrepreneurs in general, when you really want to do something but you're not giving it, your true self, or you're not really serving people, it's hard to stay consistent with that, because it's like, how do I keep up this facade? But when you're honest and you're open, I mean, I talked about breakups when they happen on my blog. I've talked about, dealing with insecurities, and that's why hashtag My Girl Story came out. And I think that's what draws people to my brand. It's just that authenticity and just openness, being vulnerable.
And one thing I love about growth is learning how to be more honest with yourself and authentic, because when you hear it from one person, you're like, who are you to tell me? But then actually, when you actually look in the mirror and say, wow, who really am I? Who am I today? Because we are all growing. Like you said, you're still learning who you are. I'm still learning who I am. I mean, especially as a new married woman. Like, I'm still learning the ropes of everything. And so, but I think just being authentic and being open and honest is really, really important. And I guess my next question for you on today would be, what would you say to someone, because I know blogging is your thing, and I know you have pushed some women out there to start a blog. If you want to do it, get out there, push yourself to do that. So what would your advice be to someone who wants to start blogging, who's like, I got a lot of thoughts in my head, and actually being authentic with their blog, and not because, I mean, if you are in a broken relationship, but you're giving all this advice on how much you are healed and how much it's amazing, because we see that. I mean, in real life, we see that. So what would you say to someone who wants to start?
I would say definitely go ahead and get your thoughts out of your head. But just start, honestly, find a host, so like a Squarespace, a WordPress, Weebly, Blogspot. There's a lot of different host sites for blogs. So find one you like, figure out if you like it, whatever. But as far as content, that's kind of the biggest thing. What do you want to talk about? Why? And as you continue writing, it'll change. You'll develop. I think the biggest thing for people who want to start is just actually start.
And so do you think they should identify their target audience, like who they want to target?
It'll change.
You believe it'll change?
I feel like it will change. I mean, because you'll change as a person, like the girl I was 5 years ago.
And who you're serving.
Yeah, who you're serving. And you'll realize who's attracted to your post, who's actually reading these, who's sharing these. And as you begin to identify those people, you can write better content or produce better videos to serve them. So I think it changes over time.
Okay, so have you ever took a big risk to expand your brand? I know you have, but what is some big hits just knock that out the park? Whether it could be from blogging, it could be your T-shirt line, it could be starting the brunching with Jasmine Diane. So have you ever had ooh, that was a big risk, but it was worth it?
I will definitely touch on brunch. So funny story. This is my third brunch. This one that's happening next week, brunching with Jasmine
I'll be
Diane. Hey. And the crazy thing is, I was just like, I need to do something in Kansas City. Started out blogging, in school, whatever. And I was just like, I feel like I need to touch people. I need to reach out and hug and just be vulnerable, whatever. And so I'm like, I'll just do a post on Facebook and see if I can get 2 people interested. I was talking to my boyfriend about it. I'm like, a few people probably reach out and I'll do something small. Got like 50 emails and was like, oh my God, what is this? So got those emails, had the first brunch sold out, second brunch sold out. So I would say that was a super huge risk. I mean, financially, just saying like, will people come? Will they buy tickets? And Kansas City has been supporting me ever since. So that was a huge.
They really have. And the cool thing about the Jasmine Diane brunch, because I went to the last one, the summer brunch, just so many women who were able to come together and connect, because I think sometimes women, we are afraid to be around each other because we're our mindset is we're focused on who's going to be fake. Who are we going to connect? Like, am I going to, like, changing your mindset? And I think over time I've had to do that because I was afraid to build new relationships with women because I'm like, oh, would they be jealous if I start this? Or, but I think that's the cool thing about the Jasmine Diane brunch. And just, so how did you feel, like, after your first brunch was over? How did you feel? Because anytime, I mean, we're both event planners, so anytime event's over, you're like, oh my gosh, it's over. But it was worth it.
Yeah, I was happy. I was like, really just in awe. I kind of had to take it in for a few days because I'm like, okay, these women came, the energy, it was just like, I felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And that's when I'm like, okay, I know I need to be in person talking to people. My role is not just behind the computer screen. I was freaking happy. Went to get some wings after. Got some roses. Like, it was
Ooh,
great.
You got some roses. Shout out to the roses. So I kind of want to go backwards a little bit because we kind of, as we talked briefly about you starting your blog in college. But what would you say is the difference between starting a blog in college, actually doing your blogging in college, versus now post-grad life? You still are blogging, but now you grown, like you fully grown. Ma'am. You got a full-grown job. Like, so what would you say is the difference between then and now?
Probably the biggest difference is resources and time. So it's like I need to shoot on Saturdays because I don't have time during the week to shoot. Whereas in school, it was like, okay, I have class Tuesdays and Thursdays. Shout out to Tam, no Fridays. So it was just like I could shoot during the week. I had more time, and there were a lot of photographers. There was just more resource there. But now it's like I have money to hire somebody, or if I need to get an assistant, it's like, okay, now I can actually pay somebody for their time. And now I just kind of blog, get it in where I can, go to events, weekends, nights, a lot of late nights writing, pitching brands, whereas in school it can kind of be a part of my day. But I was still up late, and I was traveling back and forth to Kansas City with no car, so I love my parents and friends. So, I think it's just a different hustle, but it's still a consistent hustle, school or post-grad.
Different hustle, but consistent hustle. I can snap to that. So, but you talk about prioritizing, you had class. Like, I'm with that now. I'm like, oh, I kind of can't do this because I got to be in class, and I'm about to graduate. So I should go to class because,
you should be there.
I'm going to walk. I should be there. And so would you say to listeners out there, is it really important, how important it is to prioritize? Like, do you find times where you're like, okay, I'm going to post this content on this day, I'm going to spend this many, or is it just some kind of like, I mean, sometimes is it kind of free, like, I kind of want to put this out there, or sometimes is it more scheduled?
Yeah. For the most part, I like to schedule my content. I've been sticking with Tuesdays and Thursdays. So in school, I was trying to post every day or like 3 times a week. And I'm like, that's just too much post-grad life and just life in general. Mm-hmm. But definitely prioritize blogging over, functioning, family gatherings, events, like just making sure my brand was important. And if I have to say no, I'm like, I can't come or I'll be late because I need to finish this. And that's still to this day, like I got work to do. So
got work to do. So so as you talk about branding and, because this is a show today, for someone who's like, well, I believe I'm doing a good job, I have good content, but I'm not gaining any traction. It could be for a blog, it could be for a business, a nonprofit, YouTube, just whatever. Like, what would you say to somebody who's like, I'm not really gaining any traction for what I do, and I believe that this is amazing and that I'm gifted with it?
Well, I would say definitely keep going. Time will help you gain traction, but then the next thing you can always do is collaborate. Find people who are in your niche, like location-wise, lifestyle, or content-wise, and then find somebody who's totally opposite of you, what they're talking about, but you have the same goals, and try to collab on something. So a lot of times people might not see you, but they follow your friend or they follow somebody you aspire to be, and so when you connect those dots, that just goes back to networking, connecting those dots with your personal brand or your, brand in general with your nonprofit. That can get more eyes on you. But don't be afraid to ask, like, hey, I really like what you're doing. Would you mind collabing with me on an event, a t-shirt, a post? Let's go live on Facebook and sit together and talk about a topic. That's how you really build a brand, because it's like people need to see you more to trust you, and they need to know, like, oh, well, if my favorite blogger trusts her, sure, I'll follow her. It's just building that trust with your readership.
I think also one thing I found is the confidence you have in your brand. I think sometimes people are like, well, I'm not gaining traction, but then I think there's sometimes some insecurities inside. Well, if I put myself out there more, am I ready for this? Am I really ready to take on this road? Yeah. So
you're never ready. I spammed my Facebook friend. I've been spamming them for years and probably will continue to, because it's like, at the end of the day, what's important? Is it your pride or is it your brand? Like, where do you really want to go with it? And you can't let the idea of, oh, I'm spamming them, I'm annoying them, stop you from promoting, because if they're annoyed, they're not your target audience. A. B, if you believe in it, it doesn't matter what people say, because it's like, you got to go for it. That's
and I have an example that I remember, you talk about just going for it, like, and that's how I got one of my conferences. I got all these girls through just emails and social media. Not the old school. I'm not saying the old school is bad, but like going to the churches and the nonprofits and posting the flyer. I was like, wow, that's the power of social media. Like, it has so much power, and you have to, I think, know how not to abuse it when you use it. So, what would you say, especially mixing? Like, what would you say to somebody? Should you mix multiple brands on your platform?
Definitely not. Negative. Personal brand. So I guess it really depends on your field, or if you have a personal business or a blog. So like for me, I'm a lifestyle blogger, so my life is my brand. So on Instagram, I don't have a separate page. I mean, all of my stuff is really just Jasmine Diane, because I mean, except for I guess Snapchat, that's just Jasmine, so it's not like a branded thing. But
yeah, Snapchat's more of like
my friends, family, college people, like. That's just my, outlet, I guess, so to speak. But definitely you want to have one username, one on every platform, and you want to consistently promote the same message across platform to gain traction, and then just build that trust with people.
That's good, because, I mean, I see that a lot. Like, I know with my husband, we were looking into someone, and we're like, wait, is this their business? Or
that's
like,
confusing.
We couldn't identify was it their business, or were they promoting this, and then you're like, what is this?
And then when you're confused, you don't want to buy in, because it's like, well, if you don't know what you're doing, I'm not going to put my name on, or I'm not going to give you my dollars, because here's somebody next to you who's on their P's and Q's, and you don't want to miss the opportunity because you weren't prepared.
Right. So as we're talking about brand building on platforms, I know you started coaching, one-on-one coaching.
Yes,
and crazy thing about it was, I was like, after that branch, I was like, why doesn't Jasmine do any one-on-one coaching? Like, I think it'd be amazing. And when I reached out to you, like, well, actually, I'm taking the leap to do it. And so, how has that been, in just the clients that you've had, and are you just hoping to continue to do some one-on-one coaching?
Yeah, so one-on-one coaching is a lot, because I'm like really emotionally involved with my clients, so to speak. So right now I'm working with Esmeralda Lowe of Kyrie Ellison Apparel, and we're doing some event planning, focusing on building her newsletter strategy, her social media. How do we connect the right people to your brand? Because she is a designer, but she makes custom pieces, so it's like that's not an everyday person thing. That's a luxury good. So how do we connect you socially, and then just networking wise with the right people who want to purchase? So it's been good. Definitely learning for me, like building a clothing brand versus building a lifestyle blog is totally different, but the same keys apply. So, yeah.
So one-on-one coaching. And with that, do you find yourself learning a lot, even as you coach? Do you find yourself learning a lot of like, wow, I just told them that, but why didn't I never tell myself that?
Yeah. For sure. It's one thing we're talking about her event, and I'm like, well, you could do a raffle, charge $2 to $5 for the tickets, 10 people buy it, and I'm just like, why don't I have a raffle? What am I doing? So it's like little stuff like that, or just hearing like, this is an issue for her, how can we come up with it? And it's like, oh, I have a similar thing. So like, yeah, it's always great for collaboration and learning, and just, yeah, I love coaching.
So you said something interesting. Sometimes I'm emotionally attached to my clients.
Yeah.
How do you separate business and family and friendships? Because sometimes, when you start something, or you really getting yourself out there, honestly, by nature, you're like, well, I kind of like, kind of grew up with them. Like, how do you separate that? Because no matter what, business is still business. Friendship is still friendship. Like, how do you separate the two? Because I know some people maybe listening and struggling with that. Like, how do I separate? I want to give my homegirl this, but really,
give is a very strong word, especially as a business owner. So I would say definitely I've learned along the way, even with T-shirts. So this is like my 4th rodeo with T-shirts. I sold jewelry. I was hustling in college. But I just learned to say no. Like, hey, like if you really support me, like I don't mind giving you, a family discount, but I need you to purchase this. I need you to buy in because this is my brand, and I'm growing.
And I need your support. And
I need your
being
support.
honest, I think sometimes people don't realize how honest they can be with their family and their friends.
Yeah.
I want your support. And I remember reading a post from Jordan, and he was just talking about that very thing. You have to establish that. You have to say, this is how I want you to support me.
Yeah.
This is how I want. And just like you spamming Facebook, I mean, you already spamming Facebook friends.
I spam group me's. I spam texts. I'm like, hey, y'all, I got this sponsored post. Can you like this? Can you share this? And most of the time I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But it's like, if you don't clearly communicate with your family and friends, this is how I want you to support me, they won't know, and then you're offended, and it's like, well, they never knew that this was your expectation. So just be very clear.
Yeah, that's true. So would you, with the Jasmine Diane, would you want to, I probably know this question, but I probably don't, would you see yourself wanting to just do this full time? Like, this is strictly, I'm doing Jasmine Diane, I'm doing blogging, I'm doing T-shirt launching, brunches, this is all I do.
I think eventually that's where I would like to evolve longer down the line, but I'm learning so much at my day job just about social and just everything and networking. And I'm just like, I can't imagine being at home working and I don't have any social interaction. I think that would be awkward,
Yes.
So it's like, eventually I do want to do it full time and make that my thing. But right now it's like my side hustle that's like popping and it keeps me happy,
So what are some things that you are learning on your day job?
So I do social media advertising agency here in Kansas City.
I'm not surprised
at all. So just seeing how bigger brands really delegate tasks. It's like when you're an entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur, you want to do everything, but you learn when you get in a bigger segment, it's like, no, this is somebody's specialty and this is what they do. We delegate tasks. It's not like I'm not creating the content, posting it, following up. I don't do all that. And with my personal brand, I find myself trying to do everything. And I think that is one thing I'm definitely learning is like, okay, find somebody who can do this, find somebody who can do that, so I can work in what I do best, which is the writing.
Because it gets exhausting. Like,
Very.
What would you say is the difference between when you try to do it all by yourself versus actually having some people step in to actually help you? And like, how did that feel? Like,
it's like a weight off your shoulders. Definitely less frustration. I was taking, Look, I started from the bottom. I had a flip phone, and I would have my friend Brianna Walker, who I love so much. She would take my pictures. We'd be like walking to class. So these weren't like staged outfit photos. I didn't wear makeup. I don't know what I was doing. I just was doing it. And so definitely now having a photographer, having an assistant who can schedule tweets, it frees up my time to actually work on better content and then just collaboration pieces.
And I think also focusing on who you're serving too, because I realized building brand, even for myself, you get so caught up in building all this content and stuff like that, and then you're like, wait, I never worked on really the message that I'm trying to portray those that I'm serving. And so I find that, and still struggle with that. You look up like, okay, Makayla, you should probably pull back because you've been working on the same little flyer for 3 hours and you have not developed any content for your show. Who are you? I mean, at this point, is the message is the flyer more important than the message that you don't have? And so I just think, that's important too. So, if you want to chime in on that, or I can move down to the next question.
I think it just comes with time. That's one thing definitely to college students is like you will develop, you will get there, it'll get better, you will catch your groove, and you'll figure out tasks you want to do or you don't want to do and say, hey, actually, I know somebody who's really dope at this. I could probably have them do it. We can exchange services. That was definitely one thing I did a lot in college, exchange services, even still now instead of money, because a lot of times it's like, I want to collab with you, you want to collab with me. How can
kind of like we did.
Yeah, like, doesn't matter about money. Let's just figure this thing out and get together. So,
yeah, and I think that's the thing that I see about young professionals in Kansas City is people are starting to collab a lot more. It's becoming less of self and more of how can I serve who I'm meant to serve and obviously serve my community and help other people, because you never lose with serving other people and helping people to get to their next step. And so I would think for someone who's listening, like, we all have had those times where we were very selfish about, it was just kind of like, oh, this is all about me. And the one thing I clarified, that Makayla Simone show is not just about Makayla Simone. It's Makayla Simone showcasing those entrepreneurs, those leaders who are doing things in the community, and how we can come together to encourage people about what we both do and things like that. So I think, that's important too.
No, I love that. I actually just went to Show Me Shoes. They have Moguls and Heels, which is a brunch.
No, and I didn't get to go again this year. It's always something.
It was great, but I go every year, and it's like, I could have been like, oh, I'm having brunches, they're having brunches, but I'm like, those are my mentors, and I love attending their event, and I always get something from it. My friend LaShelle Green is having a brunch too, Women Empowerment. We're all working towards the same goal, to unite and empower women, specifically women of color. And so it's like, you have to look at this as, A, you can learn something at their event, and then B, just to support people. It feels good to know, like, oh, they're in my corner versus, oh, they're trying to steal my idea, or whatever, crazy stuff we come up with, because, women sometimes we overthink things.
Yes. Speaking of brunch, are you excited about next weekend?
So excited. I'm so excited.
And can people still buy tickets or what?
No.
You're sold out.
So we sold out last night. So,
But then hopefully we have a winner today when we go on break.
Oh, no, we have the ticket for the winner. Exclusive.
Yes. No, I know we have them, but I'm just going to check to see if they did the things they're supposed to do.
They answered the question.
So just before we close out, tell us what to expect because maybe someone who is going to the fall brunch next week is going to be there, and they're like, well, what to expect? I know you but what can we expect there? I'm going too, so I'm like, what can we expect?
For sure. So there'll be a delicious buffet. We got some stuffed French toast, some chicken and waffles. There'll be a mimosa bar, networking. We have an amazing panel. So actually, Chris Good from Ruby Jeans will be on the panel. Meg Knappenberger, who is a graphic designer turned painter who just got a really, really big contract. I'll let her discuss that. Brooke Barrier, she's an entrepreneur working in the nonprofit segment, and then also India Williams, who works at KPRS.
I love India.
So, action-packed panel of entrepreneurs, leaders, people who are amazing at networking. We're going to learn from them and ask questions and have a networking hour. Photo booth, pictures.
I am so excited.
Yeah. I'm pumped. So
I am too. This is making me I'm going to be counting down days. When is the brunch? So since today is Wisdom Wednesday, I steal this from Twitter because they trend every single week.
Okay.
What advice would you leave with someone out there? Just it could be like a quote, it could be anything. Like, as we interviewed in your life, friend, what would you leave them with?
I would say, if not now, when? And that just came in my mind, but don't hesitate. Don't wait. Don't second guess. Go for it. You never know where it will take you. And honestly, as you go, you will learn, you will develop. You're not going to get to the finish line day one.
Yeah, but you'll get there.
Yeah, you'll get there.
Well, this was amazing. Thank you for this interview today. And thank you for those who are listening. We're going to go on break. We're going to check who our winner is, and we're going to announce it in this next segment. And then we're going to close out. So stay tuned right here on k-ru.org with your host, Makayla Simone.